Yeah, sorry for the jump scare. That I just do like extended music videos on YouTube, and I didn't. Just kind of stopped. It's just how it loops. It doesn't continuously loop. It just stops and starts over. Oh dear. What's up, Riley? It's me. It's me, Ninstar. Nobody else it could be. Pretty sure. "25 people applied to be Lowing staff. The end of the last Lowing. I think we'll be covered." That's tournament. Oh goodness. Oh, Baki. Oh, Baki. Thank you for your continued patronage, Bakinator. All the people that subscribe to me, you are my absolute favorite. To hell with all those others. I'll show you guys something cool since you're here early. And there's like, because of my camera angle, there's like no other way you would see this. I got a new tattoo. Check it out. Oh! Look at that. But it's like at the back of my tricep. So like from this camera angle, you'll never see it. You'll never know it's there unless I ever do that. But it's just for you guys. Don't tell anybody else. Although you guys didn't really come super early. You're just here like a minute or so. Should have showed it to the people that show up at like 15 minutes prior to my day. No, I'm not getting a Hydra tattooed on my body. That's cringe. I can do that, Baki. I'm not going to, but I can. I 100% can do that. Now that I got a tattoo guy, it's just a simple Facebook message. Hey, this is the one I want. Yeah, I got a guy. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are celebrating the new Charger kit, or crying about it if you're a Splatling player, applying to be a part of the prestigious Low Ink staff, getting obliterated by me in chess with your Low Ink hopes on the line. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. I believe it or not, I quite often get DMs during Low Ink week, especially like the Friday before registration closes and after registration closes, of people just, hey, am I eligible for Low Ink? Can I play in this Low Ink? Can I play with my friends even though I'm banned? Like things that you know should just go to help desk or shouldn't be asked at all because you should already know the answers to those questions. I get a lot of those DMs, and a lot of you can probably screenshot. Most of the time I'm either... No, like originally, like a year ago, I would just scold you in DMs. I would just be like, why are you talking to me here about this? Never do this again. More recently, I've just been trying to change the subject. I won't answer the person's question. Instead, I'll just tell them whatever's on my mind. I think I told somebody my thoughts on the most recent Super Bowl in pretty in-depth fashion. They never responded back to me, though. Like, you didn't want to have a conversation with me about that? Like, all right, fine. Sometimes they do respond back when I just go on random sport rants and stuff. This time around, this person just caught me in a good mood. Yeah, I was just like, what the hell? If you could beat me in chess. Now, I never said they could get back in if they beat me in chess. But man, I beat the hell out of them. Like when they perish from this earth, they're not going to hell because I cleansed them with how bad I beat them in that match. And if anybody would like to challenge me in a chess game, I love playing against people that are not just like randos over the internet. I should not have made it rated. My bad. I didn't mean to cause that person to lose like 175 points. But I'm always open to playing. I'm not like crazy good by any stretch of the imagination, but I know what I'm doing. And I would like to get better. I've been playing, I think, like 3,000 games I've played so far. I don't do increment. Here's my requirements. Either 3-minute or 5-minute no increment. I'm not an increment person. I have very short attention span. I just want to get it over with. So, and pre-moves on, all that stuff. But if you send me an invite and I'm not doing anything, yeah, I'll accept it. I'll play you. I don't care. Just don't play Immel, the person who, the head of Ludi. Immel is by far the best chess player in the Splatoon community. It's not even close. Immel embarrassed all of us in that invitational. And if you think I'm still bitter about losing to Magic, I believe I got reverse swept by Magic in that chess tournament we had last year. I am. And someday I'm going to avenge that loss. Happy President's Day for those of us in the States. I've said this every year. I don't get what the point of this day is, but it is a paid holiday for me. I did not go to work today and got paid for it. I guess I'm supposed to sit down and like reflect on presidents. Okay. I didn't really do that yet, so I'll make sure to do that after this podcast. I guess, does it count if I'm watching those Trump-Biden playing video game memes that's on Twitter and TikTok? Does that count as like reflecting on presidents? Because those things are everyone I've watched so far has not failed to make me bust out laughing. Those things are really scary that you can just create those now, and like the future of that, before you know it, there's going to be an AI version of the Popcast, which you've basically been watching for the last year or so. I've been phoning it in that long. But those things are hilarious. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. The Proving Grounds Region Rumble is this Saturday. If you have a team of 3 other people in your state or in the regions that we have for Canada, you can sign up for it and you can play in it. If you are not in the United States or Canada, you are welcome to watch the tournament. I'm sorry, we didn't look into how to divide up every country in the world. It's not a country battle. It's every country divided up into different sections battle. And the United States and Canada was a lot easier to do than every other country in the world. Sorry. But make sure you sign up for it. That's going to be this Saturday. SAC is a tournament that is open to everybody across the entire planet. If you're not Div 2 or like upper echelon of Div 1 or something like that, or whatever. That is going on this upcoming Saturday at Wells, the 4th qualifier. Even if you're not playing, like there's no way you can get enough points to make the finals of the season. There's still some value in playing in it. Not just so much for points, but just to get some more results, get some more experience for whatever. Maybe just like a little tune-up before the next upcoming SAC season. Little Squidly is going to be a couple Saturdays from now, so make sure you sign up for that. Today, we are going to be talking about Low Ink. as we always do on the Monday after Low Ink. I don't know how many Low Ink recaps I've done so far, but they're always one of the more popular episodes. So here we are. We're going to spend the entire day now talking about Low Ink, except for a short section of the weekly recap where we talk about how Mr. Rookie kicked everybody's ass over the weekend and something else. All that and more. But first, if you are somebody who plays in Low Ink, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what this tournament has become. This has got to be, especially if you're a team that's like in the alpha bracket range, like an alpha bracket blue blood team, this has to be the most stressful weekend of your life, or of your month, maybe not of your entire life. This has to be the most stressful thing you do every single month. I mean, there's no clear shot of winning these things anymore. There's no favorites. There's just nothing here other than just stress and misery. If you're a team that's done so well that it's just win at all costs at this point. And there are so many teams that are stuck in this win at all cost mentality when it comes to Low Ink. I'm sorry that this tournament has produced so many monsters that it's difficult for you guys to even make it out of top 32, to make it even out of your Swiss group at this point, to qualify for the bracket you won on Sunday is a grind. If you are somebody who's been long banned from Low Ink or someone who doesn't play in competitive tournaments and you just want to watch the tournament, if you're somebody who just watches the tournament, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you as well, because you are spoiled. You are seeing a string of Low Inks back to back to back that we haven't seen since the golden era of competitive Low Ink, which was the when we started doing the 2-day tournaments back in 2020. It's been a long time since we've had Low Inks this competitive for this stretch of time. This is the 4th tournament that we started using our new format. 4 Swiss groups into a top 32 group stage into a single elimination alpha bracket. This is the 4th time we've done this format. In all 4 of the formats, or the tournaments where we ran this specific format, the alpha bracket grand finals, which is a best of 7 now instead of best of 5, all 4 of those grand finals went to a game 7. Every last one of them. The odds of that happening are 2.83%. The odds of me just making up that odd is 100%. Actually, because I don't know, I'm not smart enough with combinations and permutations to figure out what the actual percentage is of all those games going to a game 7. I don't really know. And actually, I think odds like that are kind of dumb in a sense, because it's like, what are the odds of grand finals going to a game 6, game 7, and then a game 4, and then a game 2? Like, it's the same exact odds, isn't it? Like, it's like you can come up with any kind of coincidence you want and then come up with any kind of random explanation for why those statistics are the way they are. So who really cares? But it's still odd that we can't find a way to have one team clearly separate itself from the other in all these grand finals that we've had in this new format. Why does this keep happening, though? What is this the trend? Is this going to continue going forward in the upcoming Low Inks? Let's take a look at the last 4 Low Ink grand finals that had this specific format, a game 7 grand finals, and let's discuss what took place to how they got to those points, what mistakes were kind of made, how you guys that want to win Low Ink, that are stressing out because you can't win Low Ink, what can you take away from all those other grand finals and implement over the course of the next month so that you finally win Low Ink when the opportunity arises? In October, the Cherry Dolphins took on Ink Sync. The Dolphins got up 3-0 to Ink Sync decided they wanted to go back to the game 1 map and mode, which they lost initially, but they changed something up. They decided that Gigas, who had been using Junior for that entire set, should go back to Nautilus so that K's not the only one getting all the splats. They started reverse sweeping, took it all the way to Game 7, couldn't clutch out in Game 7, a Clan Blitz at Scorch. The takeaway from that is InkSync realized way too late the adjustment they needed to make. They waited all the way till they had no choice but to make an adjustment where they were down 3-0 for Gigas to switch their weapon. If they did a little bit earlier, they probably beat the Cherry Dolphins, or at least their odds go way, way up. So the mistake the InkSync made in their grand finals, waited way too long to come up with something. In November, Citria took on Sia. In Citria, the problem with them, they way overthought it. There's a lot of factors you have in control of a in a best of 7 grand finals in Lowing. Not just the maps that you get to pick, which are a little bit different from all the other best of 5 counter pick rules, but the comps that you use as well. In Citria, way overthought all of those things. They went to Game 6 using a double bow comp. They used Stringer and the Tri-Stringer, and it made absolutely no sense. They got destroyed, and then they went into a Game 7, and I didn't really look that competitive there either. They just kept playing random weapon generator and way overthought it. It wasn't that complicated. I feel like mechanically they were the better team than Sia at the time. Sia just outlasted their nonsense. When you look back at January, the tournament last month, to be determined versus Sanguine Seas, there's not like an obvious mistake that was just kind of went on right there. I think Sanguine Seas just had the issue of being EU, and when they got to that Game 7 at that point, they were just kind of burnt out. Kind of the opposite of what Australia gets to go through. Australia gets to have the sun rise as they play through low ink. Europe has to deal with the sun completely setting and the day changing over from Sunday into Monday morning. Plays a little bit of a factor for sure. Not really much you can do about that other than just to try to win the tournament faster. Or that set faster, I guess. But there's not really anything. You can't really look back at that set between Sanguine Seas and To Be Determined and come away with an obvious, they did this wrong. Just didn't really have it that day. And then you look back yesterday, the set we had of Prowlers versus the Democratic Republic of whoever, whatever. This set just came down to the traditional format of what I always say is such a critical thing, but never really turns out to be a critical thing. Well, it turns out it was a critical thing, this one isolated incident. The team that won Game 1 had control of counter picks. Basically, you just got to win on your counter picks, and you're going to win the set. And that's exactly what happened here. This is one of the rare instances where Game 1 actually decided the entire set, because the Republic's team, the Republic's comp, was different enough from what Prowlers were doing to where counter picks actually made sense. When we look at counter picks in some of these other tournaments, and I joke about this a lot, but you constantly see both teams just picking Tower Control Art Academy over and over again in Game 2, no matter what. Does it really matter what you counterpick, though, if you're using Triple Splash Machine and the other team's using Triple Splash Machine? Like, it doesn't matter. It's the same damn thing that both teams are using. So counterpicks, our play style with Triple Splash is different enough on Clan Blitz at the museum than their play style here. What? Okay. It kind of goes out the window when everything's just a mirror to some extent. But here things were so different. You had the Prowlers doing basically shooter machine stuff with the occasional leader that they would mix in some situations, and then sometimes decided not to use it on the same map and mode. And you had the Republic, who did this Tetra Wiper comp that we're starting to see be played more often. This more double flanking kind of aggressive on the wings of the maps kind of thing. And when you have that kind of disparity between the two teams, counter picks come in clutch. And both teams made really, really smart counter picks, or I guess you should say both teams made really brain dead, this is the obvious choice counter pick, and they kept dominating their opponent on their counter pick. The problem is, eventually you got to a game 7 where the Republic was allowed to go back onto Rainmaker, and they went to Undertow because, of course, that was the map they were going to go, and they dominated, and there wasn't really much the Prowlers could do about it. It all came down to winning game 1 because the counter picks were so critical there. And this is one of the rare times where both teams actually made smart counter picks, because we've seen a lot of really, really dumb, really horrible, really, there is no way you think this is going to work counter picks come out from teams in grand finals, especially some of those other grand finals I mentioned before in Lowing's past. You didn't really see that here. But since game 1 was won by the Republic, they had all the maps they needed. That's not to say the Prowlers didn't have their opportunity. Their best opportunity was that Game 5 Clan Blitz at Scorched Gorge. If they can find a way to hold on to that massive lead that they had and not let it slip away into the Republic's favor, then all of a sudden, if it goes to a Game 7, not only does it not go into the favor of the Republic, but they can't make the counter pick on game 6. If it goes to game 6, where the Republic has to make the counter pick again, they can't go back to Rainmaker. They would have to go back to Clan Blitz, Tower Control, or Splat Zones again, which seemed a little bit more neutral into the favor of the Prowlers. So, losing that Clan Blitz game, that was their one opportunity to bust that set wide open. But they couldn't hold on to that lead, and it allowed the Republic to go back to Rainmaker in Game 7, and it seemed like nobody was going to beat the Republic in Rainmaker, much like we were seeing with Lois not losing most of their games in Rainmaker in January of last year. When it really comes down to it, when you see how close a lot of these sets have been the past 4 Lowings, excluding the December one where we went back to the double M format, when you see how close it's been, it's not just the 2 teams in grand finals. I made the argument last month for how there was about 7 or 8 teams that could have won that tournament last month as well. It's just only one team can win. That's how a single elimination worked. But you had 8 teams that seemingly were right with each other. It was just to be determined that was the last team standing at the end of it. So what separates these teams? What separates a team from winning Low Ink and having to raid the stream so that we can all watch grand finals together without you being a part of it? It depends on a lot of factors that don't really determine how good you are as an individual team or player. It depends on who you get matched up against. Some people will always say, oh, this group was more stacked than that group. And it's like, all right, cool. Thanks. But there is certain paths when you have any kind of Swiss format. The path you take to getting to top 32 is nowhere near as close the same as any of the other 160 teams' path to making it the top 32. That's why opponent win percentage is the best tiebreaker for Swiss, because it allows the teams that had the mathematically toughest path to be the teams that move on, that go 4-2 into top 32, as opposed to the teams that fall down to Gamma or all the way down to Delta if you go 4-2 in these Lowings. So who you get matched up against is really important. It depends on who you have available for your team that day. A lot of you will roll into Low Ink 8 players deep. You basically got a damn baseball team on your roster, and you'll still be emergency pinging for 2 subs during the tournament. Subs, I think we've had a handful of subs win Low Ink, like people who come out of the sub application channel actually win Low Ink that month. I think it's happened like 2 or 3 times. It maybe has happened more. I know Splat-A-Lot A had to use a sub, but they didn't finish the tournament with a sub. Their sub just kind of filled in through losers bracket until that other junior player came back in, and they took the sub back out of the roster. So it's hard to play. It's hard to win Low Ink if you have to visit the sub channel at all. Which for things outside of your control, sometimes you have to do that. And more importantly, the most important factor in if you can win a tournament on a Sunday or not, how do you feel that day? Are you feeling confident? Are you prepared? Have you studied up on what your counter picks are going to be? Have you done a little bit of research on who your likely opponents are? Do you look at who the favorites are and start coming up with slight game plans for how you deal with them? Are you just feeling good? Are you, did you wake up wrong? Did you not have a good breakfast? Are you feeling sick? There's some players who had a legit chance of winning low ink, but just did not perform well because they were literally feeling sick at the time. There's a lot of factors outside of your control, and sometimes just mentally outside of your mental control that weigh against you. A lot of the teams that fail to win low ink are really good. There's been a lot of times where I feel like the best team on paper didn't win low ink. A lot of times where I feel like the best team on paper didn't win low ink. Now, you watch the course of a tournament and you start to see okay, Prowlers, those guys are really good. Okay, the Republic, those guys are really good. Okay, this Final Reckoning team, those guys are really good. You might not think of them as being really good going into the tournament, but once you actually see them in person, you start thinking, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are the real deal. But there's a lot of times where I'm watching a match on stream and I'm thinking, this team is better than that team. They're just playing bad. They're just playing below their own mark right now. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. The opponent forces you to play a little bit differently. The atmosphere, are you on stream or not? I think the main difference with some of these teams really comes down to, do you have a shot caller or do you not have a shot caller? Because there's a lot of times, and we see this on stream a lot. And I point it out because it's so obvious to me. When a team is just lost and they don't really know what to do, and they're in this situation where they either got punched in the mouth at the beginning of a Rainmaker game, that lost the checkpoint and they pushed the Rainmaker deep into the enemy base, and all of a sudden you're down 70 points in the first minute of a Rainmaker game, and you'll see teams just pick up the Rainmaker and they're just wandering around with a chicken that's got its head cut off and they don't really know what to do. Or they don't, you look and you see a Slayer just sharking in their own base, or somebody just completely out of position. These are when the games get so critical. These are when you find out who's legit and who's not. And that's not just on the players, because there are definitely moments where there are people on everybody's team that when push comes to shove, they freeze up and they don't know what to do, and they just play instinctively for how they would just naturally react to things, and they're second guessing themselves. How you fix those situations? You got that one person. You just need one person in your VC to give that person direction. If your Slayer all of a sudden is just stopped, they're just dead in your own base, and they're not moving, they're not trying to engage a fight, they're not working with somebody, they don't really know what to do. If there's that one shot caller that's just hey, go to the right, usually that fixes everything. If you got that one player who's just, when you're riding the tower, they're just staying on the tower, your splash player's just sitting on the tower because they're too nervous to get off of it and go somewhere else. If you are a support or anchor player and you hop on that tower and you yell at that Slayer, go forward, go to the left, go to the bats area. All of a sudden that gives that Slayer engaged right back into the action. It might not be the right play, but you're at least getting them involved into doing something. And they're looking for that because they don't know what else to do. And you see several situations. This is what separates a low ink team from I don't want to say mid-level because that's not an actual thing, from a team that is banned from low ink. Do you have a shot caller who can step up in those big moments, or do you not? And I think that's been the main kind of difference between a lot of these teams that are stuck in the middle of the alpha bracket right now, not advancing anything, constantly getting surpassed by these teams we've never even heard of before. I feel like that's the thing. That doesn't mean you're a bad team, though. How many of you go to school and you're smart and you feel really confident when you come to things, but when you take the test, you suck at tests? You bomb tests. Meanwhile, you got your friend who looks like they're not even paying attention in class. They're just on their phone looking at Trump and Biden memes and laughing during class, and they destroy tests. Like they're the first ones done with tests. They get an ace in every single one of them, and then they just check out and they're gone for the day. That doesn't mean you're not smart. If you fail tests, that just means you're not a good test taker. If you're a good Splatoon team and you can't get it done in tournaments, it's obvious you're just not good in tournament situations. There's something that you got to change because you're already good. It's within you. But for some reason, we got a whole lot of teams that can't figure out how to maximize themselves when it comes time to take the test. And you think about it like this. When we come back and we look at this past low link, think about all the teams that weren't here. Epsilon, who's going to be in the Div 6 finals. They beat June. They're not here. Aquatic Vanguard wasn't here. Red Pacific seems like they're going to be going, having a little bit of a roster changeover. They weren't playing last month. Alliance of the Dam wasn't there. Pixelated, KO Calamari, and then there were some other teams that were already banned that couldn't play. But that's a good chunk of handful, pretty much automatic alpha bracket teams to some extent that just weren't there. What happens if what happens if just like half of those teams come back next month? It's not like Low Ink's going to become easier to win because the Republic's now banned or who else gets banned between now and next month. It's not like the tournament becomes easier. It just gets that much more difficult. And I think that's why we're seeing this trend now of teams that you've never heard of and players that you never thought actually existed coming all the way through. And you got these grand finals that isn't like the name brand teams. It's not June versus Photic Zone. It's Prowlers versus this really long Democratic Republic of what continent are they even from? What is that? Like, you're going to continue to see that kind of trend going forward, I feel like. Because I'm convinced if you're new to Low Ink or you're playing in your first time or you haven't been a part of Alpha Bracket for many months like some of these other teams have, I feel like you don't know any better. I feel like you don't feel like there's any kind of pressure on you, or maybe there's not as much pressure on you as somebody else is like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose Alpha Bracket again if we can't get this win in game 3 versus some other team that's just like, we're just happy to be here. Whoa, we got Alpha Bracket on our first Low Ink. This is fun. Oh, counter picks. What's that? Let's figure that out real quick. I feel like that different mentality is why you're seeing To Be Determined slip through, Prowlers slip through, the Democratic Republic slip through, and I feel like this is going to be a continuing trend going forward. Out of 160 teams that are signing up every single month, at some point, one of those teams or two are going to be some hidden gems. And the hidden gems have this huge advantage because they're under the radar. There's no pressure on them. And they just get right through and they play the matches. And maybe they don't need that shot caller to direct the traffic because they just don't know what they're doing anyway. So they might as well just play and let the other team make the mistake. Until those name brand teams, though, become better at taking tournaments, at taking tests, I think we're going to be stuck in this new era that we're in right now. This could be another one of those one and done eras that we've had in the past of just players coming out of nowhere and making their name and moving on. Playing for fun. Yes. Okay. You were playing for fun. I guarantee you that like 80% of Alpha Bracket was not playing for fun. They were playing to win, and every loss was probably a lot more stress than that. And I don't blame them. Yeah, I don't blame anybody for that kind of mentality. When you reach a new peak, it's exciting. But when you don't find that new peak the next time, then it's a disappointment. Then it's a letdown. You know, like everybody has their opportunity. Oh, I made Gamma Bracket, or I almost won Gamma Bracket. Like, that's exciting. And then you get Gamma Bracket again the next month, and it's like, oh, so this isn't. I'm not improving, or somebody else is lapping me up. It's that kind of stress. It doesn't mean that these teams are bad. That's the point I'm trying to get at. It doesn't mean these teams are bad because they don't climb up or somebody else is better than them in that particular moment. And that's why you see a lot of teams get banned from Low Inc before they actually win it, because they do better in other tournaments where there's not as much pressure on them. We'll talk more about Low Inc coming up. We'll talk about a lot of the matches, a lot of the winners that I have across the board. Swiss stage. We'll talk about Swiss, Delta, Beta, Gamma, Alpha, not in that order. Before we get to that, though, some other tournaments took place this last weekend. It is now time for the weekly recap. SOS number 99 was won by Envision. Narwhal plus Ripping took second place, and Twilight Cruzada took third place. If you're wondering who Envision is, I've asked the same exact question, but apparently somebody in IPL knew because we pinged their Twitter account when they won. Envision was a competitive team from 2018, so almost 5 years ago. One of the most notable bladers from that team was Brand, so I guess they were just having a little bit of a reunion tournament and dominated this one. Actually, no, I don't think they dominated. I think Hallwall took them to a game 9-5. So be it. I forgot to eat my Tums before I got on to stream today. Hammerhead bracket was won by Kirby in the Forgotten Riz. Mako bracket was won by the Red Ear Slider. And Lantern bracket was won by the Arizona Ice Tea Fan Club, which I found out is not from Arizona at all. I think it's from New York. Off the Dial hosted a creator clash on Saturday. The winning team was made up of Chara, Glitch Cactus, Ollie, and Mr. Rookie. Splatoon News _'s own Mr. Rookie. Second place went to a team made up of Chase247, Devi, Pinky, and Inky. Is it E-N-K-I? I honestly don't know who that is, but they got Pinky and Inky. Couldn't Chase just name themselves Blinky and Debbie change them to Clyde? They got the Pac-Man ghost, half of them there. They take second place in the Creator Clash. Congratulations to Chara, Cactus, Ollie, and Mr. Rookie for joining a very, very exclusive club of people that have won the Creator Clash. The other members that have won the Creator Clash would be Kraken Mare, Shinex, Mel, and yours truly. That's right. Now, my team that I got was broken, and we would beat the dog snot out of this Chara team. I'll tell you that right now. But I don't have anything to prove, and I'm still waiting on my trophy. I got a new Hobbs doll back there. I'll replace the Hobbs doll with the Creator Clash 1 trophy if they would ever feel free to send it my way. Squid Junction number 38 was won by 3 Americans and 1 Frenchie. I wonder if I'm going to be canceled for saying that. Second place went to the Silly Kitties, and third place went to This Is Me because we signed up on time. It's a picture of Tom from Tom and Jerry looking blazed out of their mind. So Silly Kitties got second place. This is the story of the tournament. I originally thought everybody was being serious when they keep tweeting out things like, why did the Silly Kitties get Div 4? Or somebody needs to explain why they think Silly Kitties is a Div 4. I thought everybody was being serious about that. Like they forgot that Silly Kitties was not really that good on December the 4th, 2022 when Ludi Divs came out 3 months ago. But I'm now just convinced it's just a meme, so I'll throw my hat in the ring. Who's the idiots who thought Silly Kitties was Div 4? Like, who's the moron? It was Roundy. It was 100% Roundy. I was in the seating council. I said, put Silly Kitties in Div 1. Easy clap. And Roundy said, to hell with that. They're Div 4. I don't care what you say. And that's just how that went. True story. Nintendo hosted a Turf War tournament for some reason. The winner of it was Destiny Bond, who went undefeated. Second place went to Seafoam. Red Sun, hi Rowdy, Red Sun got third place. Excuse me, In Control Red Sun got third place. And Last Resort got got the last place that you could still get a prize. Or no, I think they used to do like grand prize, first prize, and then like 2 second prizes or something. I don't know. That's just the 1 through 4 order that everything ended up in. It was just a standard Turf War tournament one-day thing. It wasn't like the top 16 move on to whatever. I still don't know when the Boston thing is. I'll watch that. And I'll be prepared to watch the Zelda trailer 20 times that they show across that as well. But congratulations to Destiny Bond for winning this one. I don't know what they get. It's got to be like a backpack and some gold points or something like that. But there it is. Ludi recap. Div 6 semifinals. Epsilon got a 5-3 win over June. In Div 9, Team Orca got a 5-3 win over the Inked Dragons. In Div 10, the KO Patrol got a 5-4 win over Squid Zrikes with a Z. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Div 7, the Black Ink Raiders got a 5-4 win over Spiral Wake. And in Div 3, Downey got a 5-3 win over Interrogation, giving them the championship in Div 7. Or in Div 3, I should say. Div 1 and Div 2 have still yet to have their finals played. Uh-oh. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by, wait for it, Low Tide City. Wait for it.
Faster and faster, dear. The road's still moving backwards. Now it looks so clear. The snow eating up by the road, eating up by. I can still look all the twists and turns, but it feels so straight ahead. A little farther till the end. We'll go faster and faster.
Everyone is on this side. This could be a sneaky push. If you go for it, and they don't take the up to 20. But look at it. Blob. Blob and Junior coming back in.
Yeah.
Just came in, unfortunately.
Gotta love it there. Hugs on top of the stage, new teammates as they play on their normal online teams.
No? Alright, I think that solved it. So Kel can hear that at home. Big apologies for that. But
Sloth doing some work in the mid.
That's going to be it.
Pop the basket. Can they find a way to get lead? They do. Can they get one more clam in to avoid overtime going down?
Debbie and Tucker,
And
you know
they
what?
do. Somebody won a game.
So thank you all so much for tuning in and showing your support.
If you are off the fence, if you're on the fence about going to Low Tide City, you should probably get off of it and go to Low Tide City. I'm not muted anymore, jackasses. Thank you. Look, I think most of you probably already decided if you are or ain't going or not. But if you are on the fence, again, this is something that you're going to make a lot of memories about. At some point, at some point, you all are going to die. Okay, let's be honest about that. So let's try to create as many memories as you can before that happens. That's what life is all about. And going to lands, especially one with Low Tide City, is the best opportunity for you to create as many memories, to get as most value as you can out of this competitive scene. So I highly recommend that you, if you're kind of back and forth about going or not, that you go. Official sponsor of today's episode of the Weekly Recap, Low Tide City. By the way, if anybody else has like a video of their event that you would want me to promote, I'm happily do that. This wasn't a paid sponsorship. One of them just DM'd me and said, hey, would you run this? And I'm always going to say yes. However, I will say this, you better put me on grand finals commentary this time around. That's the trade-off. I got that in writing, that if I showed that video, that was going to be the trade-off there. Hell, I'm in that video like 6 times. There's like 6 different instances where I'm doing something in that promotional video. Give me something back here, Low Tide City. Let me commentate grands. Come on. Let's take a look at Low Ink stuff. This can't go on forever. Somebody left a highlighted message in chat that the Silly Kitties won their Ludi group their Ludi match 5-0. Who cares? We're talking about only 5 matches. I can't just put in 5-0 curb stomps. You guys are supposed to be winning now. Although if the Silly Kitties do not win Div 4, well, I don't really know what to expect going forward. Did I say Silly Kitties were going to win Div 4? I probably didn't. I probably wasn't looking into that. Matches from Low Ink. We're not talking about Silly Kitties anymore. Nobody cares. We're talking about Low Ink. These are my winners from the Swiss stage. I got a lot of them as usual. Now, I've seen in other places where people have pointed out, Popgun didn't mention me. What do I got to do to get mentioned on this? I don't know. I just pick the ones. I can't. There's 160 teams that played in this tournament, guys. I can't talk about all of you every single month. Just win the tournament, then I'm forced to talk about you at some point. But here are my winners. Let's start off with the teams that got the toughest schedule. We talked about everything. Oh my God, the next person to say muted, I'm going to figure out how to actually mod my chat, and then we'll do something about that. The team that had the highest opponent win percentage this time around goes to Surf and Turf. Surf and Turf had a 73.3% opponent win percentage. Now, let's talk about opponent win percentage for a minute, because it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. I always point out who has got the highest one, but it always isn't the most, I don't know, it's not really the best indicator all the time. Like sometimes you look at this and see like, oh, that team that they played was actually a little bit tougher than the other one. So Surf and Turf, 73.3. One of the reasons I think it was that high is because they had a bye in round 1. And I honestly have no clue how buys affect your opponent win percentage. I don't know if it counts towards that. I don't think it does, because you didn't play an opponent. So you only have 4 or 5 opponents instead of 6. Because I see a lot of teams will tweet out, and somebody did it this past week and tweeted out after round 5, oh my God, look how high our opponent win percentage is, not realizing it's going to take a huge dip once you add a 6th team into that equation, unless you, for some reason, play the toughest team in your group at that time. So I don't really know what to glean from by being factored into some of these things, but technically on paper, Surf and Turf had the highest opponent win percentage. Let's give a shout out to Ewfish, who went 4-2 in this Low Ink, getting key wins from Last Ditch Effort, Lunch Rush, Harmonic Convergence, and Scallop Splash. Ewfish constantly making steps in the right direction after awkwardly taking side steps for like the past year or so. That win against Lunch Rush, that was a best of 1. We've had a lot more instances of teams not being able to join each other's lobbies. It's not anybody's fault. Like both teams take turns trying to switch who hosts, and it doesn't really work. It came to a point to where I just hosted the lobby, and they were all immediately able to join my lobby. But by that time, they could only play 1 game. So I said, here's the Splat Zone game in this round. Let's just play that. Best of 1 decides everything. Ewfish won pretty confidently. I can tell you that. I saw it. I don't understand the connection issue with the game, though. I was able to host the room, and they were all able to join off of me very easily, but I didn't have my Ethernet cable in. I do have an Ethernet adapter when I play, but at the time, I had the Ethernet cables connected to my computer, which is right below here. So, like, I was on Wi-Fi. Like, I didn't even have that good of a connection, and they were all able to join off of me, no issue, and play the game. I don't understand any of this stuff. I hope whatever kind of crap that is gets fixed eventually, if it even something that can get fixed. I don't know. The Pond Duck Crew got a 4-2 result in this Low-Ink, getting key wins over the Splat-A-Lot Cosmic Cherries, the Flying Octos as well. The two of their notable wins from that. They went 3-3 last month. This time around, qualified for top 32. Attaboy, Pond Duck Crew. Orca Balestra. Am I saying that correctly? I need to figure out how to say that correctly because these guys are really doggone good. Orca Balestra went 6-0 during the Swiss stage, getting key wins against Outcast Ninjas, Spectra, Italian Ice, and Distinct, all of whom were top 32 teams. Nicely done, Orca Balestra. Balestra, says the Orca Balestra. Why has it got the word ball at the very beginning of it? Distinct. Got a 5-1 result, getting some key wins against the Carmeshi Colony, Ectoplasm, Pearlescence, Banana Split, and Miro, I believe, is the other result that they got out of that tournament as well. Distinct. This is the second straight time I believe they made top 32. Might have made Alpha Bracket last month. I forgot to write that down. But Distinct, you're looking at some teams coming up and making their appearances, starting to be more consistent teams when it comes to playing in Low-Ink. Distinct is definitely one of them. Establishing a lobby is usually not a matter of connection quality, but router configuration and NAT type. Why? Okay, that's beyond my scope of understanding. But I'll take your word for it. Pearlescence got a 4-2 result in this Low-Ink, getting key wins over Cephalo Squad, Dripping Ink, the Respawn Reapers, and Poison Jam, which was on stream. Bowen caught the Poison Jam reference. I'm assuming that's a band of some sort or an album or something. I don't know. But Pearlescence, who I believe went 3-3 last time they played in Low-Ink, went 4-2 this time around. Nicely done for them. GL. The team name is GL, or are you guys in chat going to tell me, oh, it's pronounced Ghoul, Popgun? Okay, GL. What does GL stand for? I believe it stands for good looking. Thanks. You're not that bad looking yourself. Well, GL went 3-3 in this Low-Ink, getting key wins against Banana Split, Anarchy Raiders, and Splat Scad Black Team. That is a mouthful in its own right. We'll talk about GL a little bit more coming up. Marine Melody. Uh-oh, we got to talk about these guys now. 4-2 in this Low-Ink, getting key wins against the Republic. Yes, the team that won the entire tournament. Marine Melody beat them. But Popgun, someone on chat said that they lost because of DC issues. All right, fine, whatever. I'm still a result they could put on their send-out bio. Infinity Rain, Arcadia, and Monsters, Inc. All right, Marine Melody. Listen, I'm sorry, okay? All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't think you guys would beat that one team in SOS. I'm sorry I bet 200,000 channel points on you guys to lose, only for you guys to win. And I'm sorry I didn't mention you in the Low-Ink preview because you guys have been popping off in other tournaments and you deserve some sort of recognition at some point going forward. I'm sorry, okay? Damn. My bad. I love you guys, Marine Melody. Give me my points back. From the Deep went 4-2 in this Low-Ink. Went from making no Sunday the previous tournament to making Gamer Bracket this time around, getting some key wins against Marine Melody. From the Deep beats you guys, but not the team that's on Low-Ink, made up of players that are all banned for, or on SOS that's all banned from Low-Ink. What the heck? Z-Light, Malibu Rising, and Lethal Vengeance. Easily the most edgy name that we have in this tournament is Lethal Vengeance. And From the Deep was able to find a way to beat a team named like that. I see you. Ikarioku got a 4-2 result in this tournament, getting key wins over Squid Knights, Royal Succulents, and Refresh. Hey, I believe we're going to see these guys a little bit later as well. These guys are continually moving up and the results of Low-Ink that they're getting. The main reason why they're playing in a ton of tournaments outside of Low-Ink. You want to get better, you want to eventually win Low-Ink, play in tournaments outside of it. But what if we get too good of a results and we get banned from Low-Ink? That's a good thing. Congratulations. That's also good as well. You want to be one of these teams that accomplishes nothing in Alpha Bracket every single year? Combo got a 4-2 result after going 3-3 the month prior. This time getting key wins over Tea Time, the Ink Busters, Astra, and Tholium. Combo, another one of those teams that we're going to be keeping an eye on going forward. Seems to be a newerish team, played in SAC in a qualifier or two, moved on over to Low Ink and have found success over here. The biggest winner from Saturday goes out to not Tacticoolers, not Tactirulers, but the Tactifuelers with an F. They went 4-2, getting key wins over Summerzite, High Tide Executives, the Arrows of Water, and Dark Phoenix. I was surprised about this because I get all these Tacta teams confused. I thought the Tactifuelers had played in Low Ink before, but from what I could tell, this is the first time this team in particular has played in Low Ink. So nicely done, Tactifuelers, for going 4-2 in this tournament. Moving on. Uh-oh. I don't have the brackets ready. Maybe I should play that ad again while I try to find this off screen, but then I gotta look at the screen to get it done. We're looking at February Low Ink, Delta bracket, full screen, and scene. Here we go. Looking at Delta bracket first. We'll work our way back up to Alpha bracket, then we'll call it a day. Here it is. There's Delta bracket. It's right there. The few teams I want to mention here, and it's becoming more and more clear. I talked about like in some of the previous eras of Low Ink where you could go 2 and 4 and make Gamma bracket. Well, now you got teams that I had in my top 10 and probably could have put in my top 10 that are not even winning Delta bracket. Like that, like these are completely different things. You just look at Delta bracket, and if you got it in your mind that this is weak teams that are in here, that's not at all the case. These are all really strong guys across the board. Audentes, these guys have made Alpha bracket several times in the past. I don't think they've played recently, and this is their first time playing, maybe like a one or 2 months off. Was able to kind of start off very strong here before coming into Wave Break, who knocked them out of the tournament. Surf and Turf beat them in a game 5. But Audentes, I see you, as I normally do. I just don't really talk about you guys that much. Sorry. The other teams I want to talk about here, I want to give some shout-outs to Orca Fist, who in their second straight Delta bracket, after losing in round 1 here, who beat them in round 1? It was Surf and Turf got the better end of them. Did a little bit of a run here, got 3 straight wins here in losers bracket before Surf and Turf beat them yet again. Yeah, this sucks when the same team beats you over and over again, but that's the way these double elimination brackets work. But Orcafist, they played in the Delta bracket last month. They got 4th place there. What did they get? Like tied for 5th here. They're at least being consistently good in this Delta bracket, and that'll pay dividends for them down the road. GL, the team that stands for good looking, they got 1 win over here in the winner's side before Surf and Turf beat them up yet again, and then made the loser run of the tournament. Lethal Vengeance, Fallen Guids, and Respawn Reapers before Surf and Turf beat them again. Man, Surf and Turf was just the crusher of dreams, where hopes go to die in this tournament. Loser run stopped right here at Surf and Turf. They faced a lot of momentum, like a lot of snowballs rolling down hills, and they stopped both of them. Impressive there for Surf and Turf. Is this the bracket they want to be playing in? No. Are these the teams they want to be playing against, though? Yes, these are some strong teams they're playing against. They forced Wave Break into a bracket reset. Wave Break being the team that knocked them out in a best of 5 here anyways. But Wave Break, how about this? How about Wave Break? After winning Little Squid League a couple of months ago, made Delta bracket last month, finished 3rd place in Delta bracket last month. Now they fell into Delta bracket again, and I think I saw them tweet out something like, yeah, we're back in Delta bracket. We're going to give it a little bit of a better effort this time around. And they won it. They survived the bracket reset against a very strong Surf and Turf team, and then just recollected themselves and put them away here in this grand final. So nicely done to Wave Break. good to see some little Squid League teams step up and get some good results going forward. And they beat Alpha Bracket regular Audentes. They beat Alpha Bracket regular Surf and Turf twice. Rolling Squids is wait, no, they didn't play Rolling Squids. Inkvaders, they've been an Alpha Bracket team before as well, a top 32 regular team. Wavebreak is one of those teams on the rise. I want to see where Wavebreak is. Let's say 3 months from now. I want to see if they're like a top 32 consistent contender, because just how these tournaments work, they could very well fall back down the Delta again. Just get fed a tough schedule, can't beat the teams in their way. Maybe they go back down the Delta. So I want to see where they are like 3 months from now. Was that March, May? These guys could be the future. Time will have to tell, though. Not announcing them the next see ya yet. But they're on pace, let's say that. Let's see if they can keep up that pace. Gamma brackets. A lot of teams I want to point out here. First off, Ink in the System. I got to give these guys credit, because the last time Ink in the System did not make top 32, they dropped. And that could have just been a case of they didn't have enough players. So be it. I'll give them credit for playing this out. This is by far one of the worst. This is by far one of the least favorable situations Ink in the System is in. And I'm just giving them credit for showing up and playing. I like the fact that they actually played. And give them a month with Keo, and we'll see what kind of effect that has on them. Be interesting to see how that experiment works out. Miro was the number 1 seed here. There used to be a time where like the number 1 seed of any bracket was just hilariously bad, especially against the number 16 seed. Miro able to just kind of take care of business here all the way up to taking 4th place. C Drive, who seems to be the team of the bracket, seemed to be right with them. They beat them in game 5 here, lost them in game 3 here, down in losers bracket. So Miro seems right with these guys as well. Sheer Cold, I want to give a little bit of recognition to Sheer Cold here. This is a new team, and I saw some people hyping these guys up on Twitter leading up to things, like in their own little mini previews or projections of things. They felt like Sheer Cold was going to be a really strong team. I feel like they backed it up here in this Gamma bracket, getting a couple of wins. The Tactifuelers I mentioned, they were the best winners from Saturday, in my opinion. Beat From the Deep and just ran into the Squid Knight team. If you're wondering who the Squid Knights are, the Squid Knights have been playing in Low Ink since the Golden Era. They've been playing in Low Ink a long, long time. The Squid Knight, there used to be, I mentioned this number 1 seed curse. The Squid Knights used to historically, like 3 months in a row, would just destroy Swiss. They would go 6-0 or 5-1, and they would always be the number 1 seed, and they would always just get crushed in the beginning of the tournament. The number 16 seed team would always just crush them. But that was 3 years ago now at this point. So they're one of these old head teams that are strong, and went down swinging all the way through. That looked really competitive all the way through this tournament. In Gamma bracket. Squid Strikes. How come nobody's on Twitter complain? How could Squid Strikes be a Div 10 team if they're making 2nd place in Gamma bracket? Like, nobody's making that case. In fact, they just lost their Div 10 playoff match to whoever KO Patrol is. So there you go. But the Squid Strikes, as difficult as their name is to pronounce, this is another one of those teams that plays in a lot of tournaments that you see them play in SOS. They made I believe they made Hammerhead in the most recent SOS. So these guys are going to be really good. Now, before you guys start complaining about why they're in Div 10, it's because we probably didn't know who they were at the time, and we know who they are now because they are taking 2nd place in this tournament and beating the Squid Knights. Now, the team that is going to get recognition probably for the first time by me is the team that wins this entire bracket, that 6-0's Squid Strikes. How about C Drive? How about having to play Ink in the System in round 1 and then losing in a game 5 in round 2? You have to play 8 games and then make a heck of a run all the way through losers bracket. Tea Time, Arcadia, Sheer Cold, Miro again. The Squid Knights. This is a difficult path that C Drive had to go through to win this Gamma bracket. And then when they got to grand finals, I'm assuming this got played, but man, they really turned on the Jets and just destroyed right here. Nicely done by C Drive. C Drive went 5-1 last month, and they actually made Alpha Bracket. I believe June was the team that knocked them out. And usually if you make Alpha Bracket for the first time and you're not on stream at any point and you lose in round 1, I'm not going to talk about you because I don't know anything about you. You could just be some random team we never seen again. C Drive, though, makes a name for themselves here by going up against some really solid opponents in Gamma Bracket and coming out the better team on top of it. So nicely done, C Drive. I see you. Potential top 10 team coming out next month. Beta bracket, and we're not going to look at top 32 because that takes way too long, but these are the teams that couldn't get the job done at the beginning of beta bracket, and I believe just one of these teams dropped. And my bad to Hydra. I believe I put that Venomous Hydra team seated here instead of them when I was seeding this, and didn't realize it till I saw Black Komodo type it in help desk. When you guys start typing in help desk, I try to predict what it is that you're trying to say. Like I try to get ahead of it so I can solve the problem quicker, because sometimes we give you guys answers in help desk and it still takes you like 5 minutes to process what we're saying, and you slow down the whole tournament with it. So I saw Black Komodo typing and I'm like, why would they be typing? And then I looked and caught it myself. It's like, uh-oh, I put the wrong team in there. Easy fix. I don't know why I spent so much time talking about that. The teams I want to talk about here, the Benthic Brigade. Benthic Brigade. We've all been there. They got third place in this one, taking Heaven's Reflect. Why is this should be a best of 5, not a best of 7. It's just a third place match. My bad. They were able to beat Black Komodo, Lullaby. They put Lullaby to bed. And then the Cherries just seem to be a little bit better. But Heaven's Reflection's a tough team. We saw them take second place in Minnow Cup. I guess they did decent in 20XX. Was able to get all the way up here. Distinct is barely losing to them. But yeah, this my bad. This should have been a best of 5, not a best of 7. It's just a third place match. But still, you gutted it out and been thick Brigade. Nice little win right here. Another team kind of like C Drive that probably deserves more recognition from me, but thanks to Saf, I now know how to pronounce this name consistently. Benthic Brigade. Distinct finishing second place here is very notable as well. You start thinking about like, well, this is my era of low ink. You should remember the teams in my era of low ink. Distinct is going to be one of these teams that's going to be like one of those consistent alpha bracket teams going forward. And this is why alpha bracket is going to be so competitive, because you add in all those teams that didn't sign up from last month to this one, and then you throw in C Drive. There's got to make room for C Drive. You got to make room for Distinct. Maybe got to make room for Benthic Brigade. We're absolutely going to have to find a way to make room for Splat-A-Lot Cosmic Cherries. There's just not enough room for all these really strong teams. So can we talk about these guys real quick? The Cosmic Cherries, after getting destroyed by Outcast Ninjas on stream, which was our first time getting to see the Cosmic Cherry team. But anytime you got Splat-A-Lot in your name, there's two things I think of. I think you are either really good or you're going to be really annoying. And these guys, thankfully, are really good and not annoying at all. So, at least so far, they haven't been. Beating Distinct in a game 7, sweeping Benthic, Ikarioku 3-1, and then Pearlescence 3-0. These guys, I'm anointed them the best Splat-A-Lot team that's still eligible for low ink. So nicely done, Cosmic Cherries. At some point, we're going to have our second Splat-A-Lot team win low ink. I don't know how close Cosmic Cherries are, just because as you can see, getting to Alpha Bracket is just almost impossible for the vast majority of these teams. But I think they are currently the best Splat-A-Lot team that we got right now. What happened to Splat-A-Lot F? We haven't seen those guys in a long time. SPC has 2 really cracked Slayers. Well, that's kind of a requirement, it seems like, in Splatoon 3. But you got to have 2 really good Slayers. Now, the team they had to go up against on stream, Outcast Ninjas. What happened to these guys? Outcast Ninjas, I talk about, they sign up like every 3 months because their schedule doesn't work out. This is another one of those teams that was playing back in 2019 Like, I want to say these guys started playing in early 2020. That's how long these guys have been playing. But this is by far the best they've ever done. I was surprised they made Alpha Bracket, and I was more so surprised that they beat Team Biscuits in a Game 5 and took June all the way to a Game 5. I mean, they looked really dominant against the Cherries. But even though they got knocked out of round 2, this is still a fantastic result. A fantastic result for these guys. Probably, I know they've won a beta bracket before, but still, I still don't think they've ever done this good. This whole alpha bracket was just crazy competitive. Every single match was tied at 1-1 at some point. They were tied at 1-1. Whatever team lost game 1 won game 2. And this is why whenever somebody complains about this tournament not being balanced or who we let in or anything like that, I'm just sitting here looking at this and being like, who's this not balanced for? Like, everybody's right with each other. It's crazy. I think only half of these, not even half of them went to a Game 5 though. You still only had 3 of them that were able to do it. But still, this is so crazy. Just how competitive this round 1 was. What are the odds of every match stowing 1-1? Somebody can do the math on that. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about this Prowler's Photic Zone thing. We got to talk about that Rainmaker game. And I know one of them, I think it was Toasty, kind of pointed it out. Like, yeah, that Rainmaker game was bad. What happened with both of these teams? This was the most bizarre Rainmaker game I've ever seen. And there's one that comes to mind. The low ink that Luau won way back in the middle of 2020. There was a Rainmaker Albacore Hotel game, which may be the last time we ever did Rainmaker Albacore Hotel in a low ink map pool, where Luau played, I want to say they played Ryzen, and it went, I think the final score of that Rainmaker game was like 30-15 or something like stupid low like that. And if you recall, Rainmaker and Albacore Hotel, where the Rainmaker spawns in the middle, there's those 2 little short bridges in the middle of the map right next to the spawn. If you just grab the Rainmaker and get like halfway across that little bridge that's right there at the spawn, you get like 40 points off of that automatically. So how did we go to neither team being able to do that and only scoring like 30 points and winning with it? I remember at the time commentating that and being like, do they even know what mode they're playing right now? I had flashbacks of that watching this Rainmaker match because it was so crazy. You know what happened? At one point, the Prowlers have just a checkpoint lead. That's it. They just scored 40 points and they won off of that 40 points. At one point, one of the few times Photic Zone grabbed the Rainmaker, they got splatted, and Prowlers just left the Rainmaker on their side of the map, didn't try to pop it or anything, and there was like a minute 30 left on the clock, and they just let it sit there. I honest to God had this thought. I thought they were trying to like embarrass Photic Zone. Like, I thought they were trying to be like, we're not going to focus the objective and we're just going to try to splat you as often as we can. You remember when that jackass was like not focusing the objective in solo queue and was just farming kills? Like, you can't do that in a tournament. You have to at least try. You can spawn camp, but you have to at least try to focus the objective at some point. You got to KO your opponent. You can't just farm kills. If that were to happen in a low ink, you would automatically get disqualified. That crosses the line of unsportsmanlike conduct. I don't think there's any debate against that. But I was legit just watching this match, and I'm like, are they farming Photic Zone? Like, why would they be doing that with such a small lead? But no, I legit think Prowlers had no idea what they were doing in that game. And Photic Zone didn't either. And it was just like, just let this one in. Oh, man. But Prowlers just got the win. And it was so crazy. I said it on stream, and I'll say it again. It is true. That was the ugliest game of Rainmaker I've ever seen in my life. That is the most unacceptable game of Rainmaker I've ever seen in my life. But it is noteworthy, though. I'll go back and watch that one a lot. It's so bad, it's enjoyable. But there you go. Congratulations to Prowlers for winning that one. The June team, this is the best low ink they had, but it also probably was just a bad weekend. They lost to Epsilon over the course of the weekend. They had a great run here. They finally made top 4, didn't make the podium, but June showed they're just as strong as they always have been. They just, when they reach this point of the tournament, it's just kind of clear these 3 teams right here were just kind of separating themselves from everybody at this point. TRF minus Rizu. My gosh, I can't believe it took me so long to figure out what was going on here. It's the Final Reckoning minus Raizu. These guys look really good. I don't know what to say. They had the Republic dead to rights. They were beating them 2-1. Just couldn't find the right way to kind of close it out in those last 2 games. But they, again, just another team that was right with everybody else. TFR, did I see TRF again? The reckoning of the final. It's the Final Reckoning. They make 3rd place in this tournament, dismissing June pretty quickly. The last 2 teams, of course, the Prowlers, the Republic. Again, this kind of just came down to game 1, working into the Republic's favor. Counter picks didn't so much highlight the weaknesses of Prowlers, but more so highlighted the strengths of themselves. And that was just really kind of the difference in that set. What are we going to see from these 2 teams going forward? Honestly, I don't know, because we haven't really seen them that much. The Prowlers, I get the sense that with how strong they were in their first low ink, that we probably won't see them in low ink much longer. I hope these guys play in a lot of other tournaments that don't have skill caps in them, so they can, so we can get a good look at how good they are against teams that aren't just like bound to the low ink skill cap. Because I feel like they got a lot of high, if this is how good they are in their first tournament, they got a very high ceiling. And I hope they don't try to limit themselves to just this ceiling that Low Ink has. For the Republic, these guys have already been playing in some other tournaments. So these guys got a bright future ahead of them. You don't want to just like, and I'm guilty of this, and you don't want to just get in this mindset of, oh, they're from Australia? Oh, well, let's just typecast them with every other Australian teams. But the Australian scene as a whole has been flexing as of late. We have a Proving Grounds Grand Final that was all Australia/Oceania, and followed up with another team winning Low Ink that I didn't find out was Oceania until Link pointed out in the Twitch chat. Link being a former member of Lois that won Low Ink back in January of last year. So just that whole region as a whole has been really stepping up their game, which is good. I don't know how much Reef Rushdown has played into that, an Oceania time zone tournament that IPL has, but it's good to see that region starting to step up again and win this tournament right here. So congratulations once again to them. That's going to do it. There was one highlighted message. We were confident enough about our lead. We knew the blaster couldn't do anything if it just kept spamming fizzy bomb. There's no way you were confident about a 1 checkpoint lead on that map. But hey, you won, so be it. All 5 of their teams, the gang's all here. Hey, I've been saying this for a while. I've been beating the drum about this. South America, yes, they have less teams compared to every other region, but all of them are really good. There's no fat in South America. They are lean. Like every one of those teams is solid. I'd be happy if Australia could come up with that as well. Whew. That does it for this week's episode of the Popcast. An hour and 15 minutes. My goodness. We got through it. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out on my socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, Twitch at, or YouTube 25 Popgun. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. Figure that out later. We're not watching that. Figure that out later. Who's streaming right now? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody to raid. Raid Rose last time. Let's go try to back out. The raid command wasn't even working last time. There it goes. It's working this time around. Hey, stay safe. Get vaccinated. If you are planning on going to Low Tide City, sign up sooner rather than later. Save yourself some money. Especially on flights, too.